Hello and welcome to this episode of the Sticky Note Marketing Show. I'm your host, Mary Zarnecki, and today I'm excited to introduce you to my guest expert, Casey O'Toole. Casey is the founder of LinkyBot, a groundbreaking AI-powered platform that is transforming how businesses scale LinkedIn engagement and B2B sales. So today we are going to be talking about some of those all too common mistakes people and businesses make when they are using lead generation on LinkedIn, all of that kind of ick factor that can happen when we do it wrong. You may have been on the receiving end of this. You may have been on the outward bound side of this, but we're going to dig into all of that so that you don't continue to make those mistakes or make those mistakes from the beginning. So Casey, I'm so excited to have you here on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here, Mary. I've been doing these recently and I really enjoy them because I feel like there are a lot of feelings behind LinkedIn and confusion. And so I'm just excited to talk more about it and see if I can help.
Let's talk a little bit about, before we jump into some of those confusion aspects that I know I'm dying to ask you about, tell us a little bit, because I know some folks who may be joining us are familiar with you and LinkyBot, but tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are now and how LinkyBot even came into being.
Yeah, many entrepreneurs, I kind of fell into this. About 10 or so years ago, I was more or less struggling to find my career. I have a graduate degree in data science, and I started working for a nonprofit organization that wasn't paying the bills. So I started working with my brother Sean in real estate. And that was great, but I didn't really love real estate. And how you would generate leads in real estate was typically door knocking, cold calling, going to networking events, putting your name everywhere. And I'm an introvert. And so I like to be behind a computer and just do digital stuff. And so I was using my skills at the time to generate more leads for my real estate practice. And first started with email automation tools to try and get confirmed homeowners to let us help them sell their home. And that worked okay, but email is a tricky space. And then I stumbled upon LinkedIn as an incredible space, which I had no idea about. And then from there, I started to build out a lead generation company called MyLink Solution, which was generating leads for realtors using LinkedIn. And LinkyBot is like the final iteration where we were able to integrate AI into LinkedIn now. So now we have the full kind of gamut of automation plus AI, and that's how I got here. It's a round story, but it's great.
Yeah, I know there are some people listening or watching to this who are nodding who said, yeah, no, I didn't exactly plan to do what I'm doing now, but myself included. Now, I know part of the thing I think is fascinating about that is you created this based on your own experience, right? You knew what it was like. Okay, I have to door knock or I have to go to all of these chamber meetings and BNI meetings and all of these meetings to generate these leads. There's got to be an easier way, especially that lines up with my personality preference, right? The way I like to meet people or engage with people. And I know there are people here listening who say, yes, if you could give me a way, then I don't have to go to any more of these networking meetings and change business cards and all this kind of stuff. What do you see as the way people do this wrong? So when they first start to say, okay, I don't want to do the in-person stuff anymore. I'm going to use LinkedIn. I'm going to generate leads online. What do you see as some of the biggest mistakes people are making?
I guess the main one, the first one I thought of was the fact that they bring their maybe external fears into LinkedIn as well.
Mhm.
Thinking like, I don't really go into networking events. I'm afraid of what people will think, or I'm afraid of what people will say. And they bring it to LinkedIn, then they're apprehensive to connect with someone and then message them or comment on their post. They're overthinking it. And my first recommendation is don't overthink it. It's way different. It's way different. There's a couple things to do beforehand, which I could get into if you want me to, but don't overthink it. The other kind of mistake or is like not really updating your profile and putting yourself out there as much.
Mhm.
Again, all that fear. So I think there's a lot of fear behind LinkedIn, and it's not that scary of a platform, I promise.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some people here being like, no, it's scary. I find it scary. So if that's you, don't worry. This is a no judgment zone, right? Sticky note marketing is all about no judgment. This is progress, practice, not perfection. So tell me a little bit about how what you do with your clients helps that, right? Because if they're coming and their before picture is, look, I've been doing this, it has been working, or I'm showing up, like you said, in this fear state, how does your platform, because I know it's also AI powered, how does that help them get out of that trap?
So, couple things. So I have the fearful client that doesn't want to put themselves out there, and then I have the more ego-ish type client that like is very delicate around their brand.
Mhm.
Like I'm a top producing luxury real estate agent. I don't want to be perceived as this. And both of those make sense.
Mhm.
And so I typically, if someone does have or at least on the ego side, too much of it, I'm like, maybe this isn't for you,
Mhm.
right? If you are so concerned about your reputation, your brand, chances are there will be some people that will know that it's automation or AI. So maybe it's not for you. And then on the fear side, that's not really as much of an issue. But yeah, I just work with them. So some of them give me a list of their current clients that they don't want me to be contacting. Great. We can exclude those, friends, whatever. So there's ways that we can get around some of those difficulties, but I just work with all my clients like one-on-one and help them out.
That's amazing. I know one of the things that you're focused on that you talk a lot about is this balance between automation, so helping the business owner deal with something we always have, which is the lack of time, right? So that the I can talk here. Automation, that's the new word.
Automation.
Automation or systemization, having that AI helper is amazing. But you also, to your point, you also want to be authentic. You want to make sure that it's not coming up as too automaton. So
Mhm.
how do you balance that? How do you help balance that?
Yeah, so there's like kind of two components. There's the automation side and then there's the AI side. The automation side you can customize to your exact because you're the one writing it out. Now on the AI side, it's a little bit more tricky, but what we've done is we have a couple custom GPTs that I send all my clients through to answer a series of questions about their personality, style, and tone. And then we can include that snippet of information into the unique AI assistant that I build for all of my clients. So I create this AI assistant for each client, and it has the snippet of code for their personality, and then also I have a GPT for their brand. So it stays on brand. And then also there's a fear of it not speaking factually.
Mm.
And so we can also import or load the knowledge base of this unique assistant with FAQs, brand information, pricing, if you want to talk about pricing, and then make sure that the AI only speaks to the information that it has at hand.
Got it. So it's not making up anything, right? It has its knowledge base, and if it's outside that knowledge base, then okay, I'll put you in touch with a human.
Yes, not anymore. It did. When we first launched it, I let it go wild a little bit. I was like, wanted to see how it was going to react. And it does, like, basically answers all the questions because it has a huge brain and it can answer anything. But no, you eventually have to customize and narrow it in.
Mhm.
And that's the real trick.
Amazing. Do you have any favorite stories of clients that you've worked with that have had an aha moment or were doing something before that was working okay, but once they started doing business this way, it really had a transformation effect for them?
Yeah, it's similar to the story of our evolution too, because with just the automation side of things, our clients would oftentimes come to me and say, hey, I'm having trouble keeping up with all the replies. I'm missing leads. They're falling through the cracks. I don't know what to do with these. I haven't gotten any appointments as a result. And I was then looking through their profile and I was like, oh, yeah, this person's a lead, that person's a lead. But they just didn't see them because it is hard, right? And also everyone's busy, especially like you're working on your business. That's great. But once we implemented the AI side of things, it just evaporated all those other issues because now this AI side, this AI component of it is working 24/7. So if the person like a good lead is responding to you at 10 o'clock at night, AI can then receive that message, get the conversational context, run it through OpenAI, generate a response, send it back into LinkedIn. It's always working for you. And it's just skyrocketed the number of appointments. And so you just give it a goal. So my goal is to schedule one-on-one appointments or Zoom calls, whatever. You give it the link, it then just goes through naturally and goes to like the different conversational qualifying questions, and then eventually sends the person the link to book a call, and then it just books. And then they wake up and they have a new call on their calendar. And so it's hard to say 2x, 3x. It's been revolutionary. It's why we changed our company name from My Link Solution to LinkyBot, because it's so different. And yeah, it's interesting.
That's amazing. I know that you said that obviously real estate agents are benefiting from this because you're out showing homes and you're setting up open houses and things like that. You don't always have the ability to be responding to emails and to LinkedIn messages and all of that. And so I'm sure there are some people here, be honest, if you're listening or watching to this, where you've let the leads go. They've fallen through the cracks. You forgot to follow up. What other industries are you seeing this be really beneficial for?
So now it's basically any industry that is B2B whose business they're targeting is on LinkedIn.
Mm.
And so some examples of like businesses that aren't so great are like HVAC or roofing companies, because their clients aren't usually on LinkedIn. But if you can find your business or your ideal target audience using Sales Navigator, then this would work for you. So it's B2B, small businesses, digital marketing, SaaS agencies, just general professional services.
Mhm.
So it expands. And the nice part, and again, another reason why we changed companies and rebranded in a way, is because now we just train the AI on the company brand, and it is fairly simple to do. And that kind of opens up a lot of doors for us, right? It was good.
That's amazing. Now, I know there are some folks here who are maybe feeling like they wish they knew more about AI, and AI is always changing rapidly. You've got your finger on the pulse, obviously, because you're using it. This is your business, this is your focus. For those of our listeners or watchers, can you share a little bit about your vision for the future of AI-driven sales? Like, where are we going? What should people just be even aware of or have on their radar to be curious about?
So I think it's already here. I think some people just deploy it better than others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think similar to how people are looking at automation, like from the in person, from like the person receiving the automation, is you know it is. And you just let it go. Say, okay, cool. And so I think it's already here. I get SMS AI all the time from random people, and then voice AI now is here. And I can immediately determine it's AI, and then it doesn't bother me. And so I would say either jump on the bandwagon and start learning how to use it, or don't be offended if someone's using it towards you, because it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. Buckle up.
It's funny that you say that too, because I think back to when email marketing first really kicked off, right? And I literally remember the first email I got that said, "Dear Mary," and it had the email and it even had a few little personalized things, or felt personalized, at least to me. And it signed up and I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
the owner of Chewy emailed me. And I was like, oh, and it wasn't Chewy, by the way. If you work at Chewy,
Uh,
if you're listening to this, it wasn't you, but that was what popped in my head. I
uh,
was like, oh my gosh, they emailed me. And then realizing, oh no, duh, Mary, this is an email list. But at the
mhm.
beginning of the dawn of any new transformation, to your point, it can feel a little weird when you're just getting started. But now, if I subscribe to a newsletter list, I'm not expecting someone to be sitting there typing that email to me, right? That's not what would bother me. I know that's an email that a variety of people are getting. Hopefully, it's still aligned with my interests, it's aligned with my things, right? As a marketing consultant and workshop trainer, that's what I'm working with some of my clients to make sure that they're doing. But I'm not annoyed by it. So I hear your point, right? Is this invitation of,
Yeah,
okay, if you are the receiver of this, before you get annoyed, ask yourself, right? Do you get annoyed when you get an email from a company you've asked to be in touch with? Probably not.
exactly. Yeah. And I was afraid of what the conversations were going to be like with the appointments that were booked through our AI system. Because we're the first company to have integrated AI within LinkedIn, right? And so it's not a very common platform. And when I'm first talking to these people, I don't know, I didn't really know how to say, did you know that was AI? Because I didn't know if they'd be offended by it.
Yeah.
And then after the first few calls, they were like, "Oh yeah, like I didn't know it was AI, but that's fine. I wanted to talk,"
Yeah.
and that kind of lowered my guard. I was like, "Okay, cool. Everyone's gonna be okay."
Yes. Yeah. And if they're not, it would probably have turned out the same way if it was a human writing that response back to them too. At the end of the day, there are people who don't want to be contacted by anything, human or not
hmm
human.
Yeah, and so using that concept, I think that could be applied also to potentially using LinkedIn as a source for generating leads for your business. Because people tell me that they get so upset when they get a connection request and then an immediate follow-up sales pitch.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, yeah, that is annoying. I get it. But do you not use the phone because you get a few spam calls? Do you not use because you get like robocalls, whatever? It's still a channel of communication that could help your business.
Mhm.
And just because some people do it incorrectly doesn't mean you don't have to do it. I will help you do it correctly because yeah, there is some really annoying ways of doing it, and but do it right.
So just because you brought that up, I have to ask, as a receiver of this, do you have any horror stories of being someone who helps people do this right? Have you ever been the receiver of just a horrible experience on LinkedIn by someone trying to get you as a lead?
Yeah, it happens on a daily basis. But I know how to detect them now,
Yeah.
and so I just ignore their request. But it's very obvious if their headline says, "I help businesses generate 50 appointments in 1 week," as their headline. When your headline's supposed to be like, what's your title? What do you do? Thing. And that's the headline, but I know what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
And then his note is also very like salesy.
Mhm.
And so I just ignore him. But yeah, there's sometimes I'll accept and see how they're doing it.
Mhm.
And they send out message after message. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We send out, I think 3 is our max. And we scatter them between 5 days after the connection request and then 7 days after. And then we make them super unique. And we also target them very well. Targeting is essential. I don't get upset when I get a targeted ad sent my way for like camping equipment, but if I got an ad for something else that is like for my wife or something, that would bother me. But if you do your targeting well enough,
Yeah.
people don't get offended. You're just providing them with information. And also the tactic with AI is you lead with value. So you don't even have a call to action necessarily in your messages. You simply say, hey, I have a piece of value that I think you might like as you're the CEO of this company. It's this piece of value. Would you like me to send it to you? And then just, would you like it? And then if they do, great. And then if they don't, it doesn't get sent.
Yeah.
But that's a way to engage with them in conversation, and then you get a frictionless opt-in lead, and then you have the ability to email them if they're a connection of yours, and hopefully get them to an appointment. But yeah, there's nuances to it, and
Yeah.
it's which is why we offer like a done for you service. Is we help build all these out for our clients because we're like, I don't know how to do that. So yeah, we help everyone, but it is tricky a
Yeah.
little bit.
No, I like the point you made though, is do not use the phone just because you get some robo-dialers calling you. So if you're listening to this and your business hasn't taken advantage of LinkedIn as that opportunity because of that, feeling like, oh, I don't want to be one of the guys doing it wrong, but you don't have to, right? You don't have to do it wrong.
No, just do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
Definitely.
Thank you, Casey, so much for joining us here on Sticky Note Marketing. Any parting thoughts for the audience today?
So yeah, so the last one I was on was talking about like ending with a quote, and I really like this quote, and so if I have a chance to say it during the podcast, I like to insert it, but it talks a lot about the way you should prepare your engagement with LinkedIn. It's a pretty common quote, but it's the Abraham Lincoln quote, I think, where it says, if you have 5 hours to chop down a tree, I'll spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. And it's, if you don't do that, you're going to spend so much more time in the long run cleaning up the mess. But if you spend a good amount of time up front, making your profile look good, engaging with people, sending messages manually, see what kind of responses work, learning how to target the right audience. If you keep sharpening it and then you finally go, okay, this is great. Now I want to try automation or automation and AI. Then you're going to be way ahead. But yeah, that's a good one. I like it.
That is a great quote. Thank you for sharing that. I know there are going to be people who want to follow up and learn more about you and what you're doing with LinkyBot. What is the best place for someone to go and connect with you online?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn, but actually that's probably not the best place to reach me. Either our website is fine, so linkybot.ai, or we also have a school community. So I spend a lot of time there. It's the AI Mastery Lab, so school.ai Mastery Lab. And so you'll find me there too. So yeah, linkybot.ai or school.
Fantastic. So wherever you're watching or listening this, we'll be sure to include the links to connect with Casey, either on School or over at the LinkyBot website. So thank you again, Casey. Really appreciate you coming and sharing your expertise with our audience.
Happy to be here, Mary. Thank you for having me on.
Amazing. So thank you guys for coming and joining us for this episode. If there is a topic or an expert you want to hear from, reach out to me and my team over at support@maryzarnecki.com. And who knows, maybe your topic is one of our upcoming episodes. So thank you very much, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.